Yes, it was a Sunday morning on the 14th of November 1965. I was in the 1st Battalion, 7th Cavalry. I was in A Company. I was a platoon leader of about 30 plus soldiers. We went in with, we were the 2nd company in. We were looking for the North Vietnamese, and intelligence said that they were in this area we were going into called Ai Drang Valley near the Chupong Mountain. So we went in first with about 10:30 in the morning with the 1st company in was Bravo Company, and we were the 2nd company in. So we didn't get in there till late morning because the helicopters had to turn around and go back and get us after they had dropped off Bravo Company. So once we got there, we started following Bravo Company, and we heard some firing and shooting, and they had made contact, and so we hadn't made any contact yet. So we were still looking for the enemy, and Bravo Company came back down later that afternoon with -1 platoon that was trapped and surrounded, and they couldn't get to them without reinforcements. So my company commander, whose name was Captain Tony Nadal, asked me to, he said, "Marm, you take your platoon and you're going to go with Bravo Company up to get that platoon that was trapped on the side of the mountain." So that's what I did. We went up, we were attached to Bravo Company and headed up on the side of the mountain. It was called Chupong Mountain. And it was, when you think of Vietnam, you think of heavy, dense jungle, and you think you're cutting your way through a lot of foliage. But this was not that type of terrain. It was more elephant grass, trees and shrubs, and it was fairly open. It wasn't a thick, heavy jungle that we had experienced in other parts of Vietnam. So anyway, we started up online with 3 platoons, and I was. And we were taking some casualties. We didn't make it that attempt because of the casualties we were taking. We pulled back, and we're going to get more reinforcements. And so the decision was to make a 2nd attempt. By this time it was late in the afternoon on that Sunday morning on the 14th, and so we started prepping in front of our attack positions with artillery and mortar fire to kind of soften it up for our advancement up the hill. And the artillery was going to walk in front of us as we headed towards the mountain. Again, it was 2 companies online, and I was back with my A Company this time, and we were again taking more casualties and fire when we were doing fire and maneuver and firing at the enemy as we maneuvered. And right in front of my position was they call it an anthill. It was a solidified rock position where the enemy were around it and on top of it and in the trees. And it was right in front of me. So I told one of my men to shoot a light anti-tank weapon. Acronym is a LAW. It's a single-shot bazooka. And so he armed it and put it on his shoulder and tried to shoot it, but it didn't go off because of all the humidity and the moisture over there. It must have caused it some problems. So I was right close to him, so I took it from him, and I rearmed it by closing it up and opening it again and put it on my shoulder and fired it, and it went off and made a big boom, big cloud of dust, and it really picked up our morale. We started going forward again, thinking that we had kind of helped us solve the problem with where the enemy were. But we were still taking more casualties, so we had to stop again. This time I tried to get one of my men. There was a lot of battle noise, and I tried to get him he couldn't hear me or understand me, so I used sign language. I told him, take your grenade and go up there and throw it over the top, kind of using sign language. And he thought I meant to throw it from where we're at, which he did. And he threw it, and because of the trees and the foliage around it, it deflected in front of the bunker and went off and didn't do any damage to the guys that were trying to get us, in the back and in the trees. So I just decided rather than waste any more time, because it's starting to get pretty dark. I would do it myself, and so I told my men to hold their fire. I didn't want to get shot by my own men, and they did. And I ran forward about 30 yards and got to the bunker and threw the grenade over the top of the anthill. It went off, and I went around to the left side, and I shot some more of the enemy that were still trying to shoot me. And when everything was silenced and it was pretty quiet around that bunker, I told I turned to my men and told them to come on, let's go. Come on up. We got to get to the lost platoon. And somewhere, further back in the enemy's area, I was shot because I was standing up and waving my men to come on. And I got shot in the jaw. It shattered went in my left jaw and shattered the jaw and deflected and came out underneath my right jaw. Kind of ruined my day. A couple of my men come up to me with the aid kit and the medical bag and gave me a compress and put it around my face, and a couple of my men helped me get back to the rear. They continued the attack to try to get up the platoon, but weren't making a lot of progress because of the more casualties we were taking, and they decided to pull back. My company commander called in smoke grenades, but they didn't have any, so they were firing white phosphorus grenades on the position and or on our front, and that was very, very good in giving us. It was like smoke, but the white phosphorus was doing a good job, and they were able to pull back without too many casualties. So they formed a perimeter defense that night and got up to that platoon the next morning. They never lost another man killed or wounded after a buck sergeant named Ernie Savage took over, and he held out. He put a ring of steel around his position, and along with him and Doc Lose, they kept the men alive and in good spirits throughout that day. The fight lasted 2 more days, the 15th and the 16th. But that's basically it. What I did, I was evacuated. One of the helicopters that come in with Bruce Crandall or Ed Freeman dropped off supplies and ammunition and water and took me out, and I was evacuated that day. Wow, I thought, I was shaking in my boots to think of that I would be considered for it, and all the recipients say we wear the medal for all the men and women that we served with. That there's a lot of brave things that happen in combat, but our actions were recognized for the entire unit. So I'm the caretaker of the medal for all the men in the 1st Battalion, 7th Cavalry that were at that battle and survived, and those that were killed in action. We had 79 killed in action and 121 wounded out of 450. But we had a bigger enemy force than we knew, or we heard there's around 3,000 enemy troops there. We didn't know it at the time, but the battalion commander has gone and talked with the North Vietnamese. Him and the reporter who wrote the book about the battle called "We Were Soldiers Once and Young," and Mel Gibson, a few years ago, made it into a movie called "We Were Soldiers," and it's one of the better Vietnam movies that I've seen. I don't consider myself a hero. I just consider myself an average person who did something that had to be done and was recognized by the unit and the Army and our government. And I'm very, very honored to be a recipient of the highest award that our nation can give. It's just awesome to be considered for that and to be awarded that medal. So it's unique to see how the Army has changed over the years. In some things, in other ways, it's still the same in terms of the soldiers are still trying to do the best they can and trying hard. The weapons are a little bit different and the uniforms are different, but they're still great American soldiers and just trying to do the best they can.